Country girl in town for carnival, oh oh. She say how she hot but rainbow festival, She say how this year she out to make money, and no other vendor must compete with she. So she going in town with she sweet body rider. She know all the men will rush and buy from her. Anything they want, I'm giving them. Man, I'm giving them anything they want, I'm giving them. If they want me curry gold, if they want me sweet stew pork, if they want me cuchilla, anything them boys ask for, man, I'm giving them. Man, I'm giving them. Ayo, good girl. I stood up and watching her prepare her delicious menu with no fear. I started to feel frightened for she, cause I know Grenville men well greedy. I tried to tell she that's not the place for that. She looked at me and again she told me flat. Anything they want, I'm giving them. Man, I'm giving them anything they want, I'm giving them. If they want me curry gold, if they want me sweet stew pork, if they want me cuchilla, anything them boys ask for, man, I'm giving them. Man, I'm giving them. Tell them, good girl, mama ya. Oh Lord, mama ya. Good girl, mama ya. Man, that Indian girl, she well stubborn. Don't mind how I try, could change her plan. She even get vexed viciously. I have my customers already. In this Timber man, I have 600 men. In the Mazda, I have about 9,010. Anything they want, I'm giving them. Man, I'm giving them anything they want, I'm giving them. If they want me curry gold, if they want me sweet stew pork, if they want me cuchilla,
Innocent bullet, your family big. Small island people, they all related. I bounced up this guy with you from New York. He start to give me this family talk. His last name was Bullet, his first name was Fred. Throughout the island he told me the family spread. At first I didn't want to believe him. When he tell me tight he was bullying. He mentioned the fellow on the dock, and no one knew that for a fact. I had to take in the old talk when he started to trace the family back. Oh, that day when we landed in Point Saline. Oh, you think that came and you see him tighty bullying, tighty bullying. Man, I went with them to the city. Then we met one of the family, tacky bullying, tacky bullying. DJ Punkin kicking like a mad. Who get away on the Esplanade?
well yes, it's me Trouble Man again. It's a chunk of lyrics I have for the wicked. I was so amazed when Joan and me saw me on the stage. Then tell me with rage, free school books they promise we. Up to now that I cannot see. I really believe them boys fool me, cause right now is now hungry. The people want change, but now they get changed. They find the change strange. They want things arranged. The same set shouting out for yellow. them crying now evermore. I really wanted Jonah to go, but right now, I'm sorry for sure. Oh my God, them fellas don't shit. Down in the toilet, better do it quick. Expo man do it, flush them out. I will give barrel, them say at free will, but I can see still, me they out to kill. I have 6 children home to mine. I can pay bills since I would crime. Do it scratch program I did mine, but right now, no work I can find. Oh my God, the people want change, but now they get change. They find the change strange. They want things arranged. The same set shouting out for yellow, them crying out evermore. I really wanted Jonah to go, but right now, I'm sorry for sure. Oh my God, the fellas don't shit. Down in the toilet, better do it quick. Expo man don't need to flush them out. The man he must leave. In green they believe. Let's kill them as fleas. Revenge we must achieve. Even poor people keep give both free. For that them make believe want money. If that's proper transparency, oh my God, bring back Jonah for we. Oh my God, the people want change, but now they get change. They find the change strange. They want things arranged. The same set shouting out for yellow, them crying now evermore. I really wanted Jonah to go, but right now, I'm sorry for sure. Oh my God, them fellas don't shit. Down in the toilet, better do it quick. Expo man don't eat, flush them out. Oh my God. All in the ground, you right man, yes. Fire for fire, man. Sing it. Good God. Good God. Good God. Just because I sing it for your calypso, all kind of wrong things about me people know. First they know some walking to one driving. Rumors all over about me they spreading. But I want them know that I'm conscious is just a bread. And no way hypocrites like them could ever frustrate my head. So to all those who like Roma, there is more to say about Teller. Cause it's me who kill Bishop and mash everything up. Die on the treasury and for the money. So look, you hear me? Sky me down, cause I like it, sky me down. Sky me down, oh God, the song sweet, sky me down. Sky me down, all them people sweet, sky me down. Sky me down, tell them. Oh God. Cost of living here keep rising daily. Unemployment rampant in this country. Prostitution is a priority. Up to now that them poets can see. But of course they come out to destroy me with their cheap limits. Man, even my children's mother too, they make fault for it. Because she too, she lambaste me, telling everyone I'm nasty. Cause me that is profit, and beat them with the cow shit. Man, me that is prison, and Alex is them wicked man. So they hear me, cry me down. Because I like it, cry me down. All them hypocrites, cry me down. Oh God, the songs will cry me down. Politician here keep writing and playing, while taxpayers' money going down the drain. Agriculture gone so low, it's a shame. AIDS and drugs flowing down here like rain. But a humble guy like me who fighting for a living, them bypass it and on my back they keep on stabbing. Cause they see me as the Judas, what they should know for their last. You see I don't know me, jumping from party to party. Give me all of them prefer, man to sell out we need that. So look again, me cry me down, because I like it. God, it's so sweet. All the hypocrite cry me down. Tell them, oh God, all you clean, all you like people business. All interfere with the right man, yes. Fire for fire, man. Sing it. Good God. Good God. Good God. Just because I sing it for your calypso, all kind of wrong things about me people know. First they know some walking to one driving. Rumors all over about me they spreading. But I want them know that I'm conscious is just shame. And no way hypocrites like them could ever frustrate my head. So to all those who like woman, there is more to say about Teller. Cause it's me who kill Bishop and mash everything up. Die on the treasury and thief all the money. So look you hear me. Tie me down, cause I like it, tie me down. Tie me down, oh God, it's some sweet, tie me down. Tie me down, all the hypocrite, tie me down. Tie me down, tell them. Oh God. Cost of living here keep rising daily. Unemployment rampant in this country. Prostitution is a priority. Up to now that them bullets can see. But of course they come out to distract me with their cheap lyrics. Man, even my children mother too, they make fault for it. Because she too, she lambaste me, telling everyone I'm nasty. Cause me that is profit, and with them with the cow shit. Man, me that is prison, and Alex is them wicked man. So the hear me, cry me down. Because I like it, cry me down. All them hypocrite, cry me down. Oh God, it sounds sweet, cry me down.
And good night to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name, Sheldon Scott, here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour.
Good God. Politician, you keep writing and playing.
You would have swear that Teller was still alive and just write the song, you know.
Agriculture gone so low, it's a shame. AIDS and drugs flowing down here like rain. But a humble guy like me who fighting for a living. Them bypassing that and on my back they keep on stabbing. Cause they see me as the Judas, what they should know for their last. You see I don't monkey, jumping from party to party. Give me all of them prefer, man to sell out we need her. So look again, me cry me down. Because I like it. Oh God, it's so sweet. All the people cry me down. Cry me down, tell them. Oh God, oh God. As some kids in India come walking rum. Now they own Grenville and half a tongue. We hospital condition out of bum. To be in the hell gates you going down. Yet we doctors and nurses have to work with such condition. We don't have equipment for a simple operation. You see what's on Catholic over. So all you see down and can tell her I is good minister that every day buying new car. But them still going on TV. They tell me they love the country. So look at me, cry me down. Because I like it. Oh God, it sounds sweet. All them hypocrite. Tell them. Oh Lord. Oh God.
Yeah, yeah, the microphone off. Yes, indeed. Nice.
That we eat some queen.
Lord. It's like if African Tala was alive and just write that song for this time and place in history. Yeah? Or is it the more things change, the more they say the same? Yeah, because that man write that song was under another NDC government. Oh my goodness. Yeah, let me say a special good night to all of you on the various lives. Those of you who are on YouTube, and let me give YouTube the first blight tonight. YouTube does kind of feel jealous sometimes. I go in and get. So Mayana, Deborah, Jillian, Wilfred, Errol, Anne, Anne-Marie, Carl, Dave, Michelle, Lisha, Gavin, Henry, Shrajan, Maud, Lydia, right? Wilma, Kathleen, Gertrude, Abraham, good night. Adrian Watts, good night to you. Wilfred Antoine, Jacinta Livingston, and Jackie, Michelle Alexander, Sherma Jeremiah, good life. Siobhan and Clive and Yolan, Matthew Boyne, good night to you. And Janice, Faithlyn Halley, Douglas, good night. Anna Barbara, good night to you. And let me see, Gemma Warwood, I see you're in the place. Sky, good night to you. Amanda, Beavis, Phyllis, Andrea, good night to all of you. Agnes, Stephanie. I see Miriam, Maria, good night to you. Chanel, good night. Amanda, Kathleen, Devin, Derek, Manda, Alcy, Maria, Ibrahim, good night to you, bro. Antonito, what's up, bro? Hermina, and let me see, Marilyn. Marilyn, I know you must be there. I mean, you had to shout, man. I know you. Yes, I know Joyce. Let me see. I sure Joyce done message me on the what. You see that? I know that Joyce done message me on the WhatsApp already. So good night to you, Joyce. And let me see, Kim Creedland, good night. Eliza, April, Christine Otley, good night to you. And Alan, good night to you and the home circuit, especially Zoe. Good night to Zoe. Let me see, Kathleen Ledlow, Steve, Public Notice, I see you are wrong there, bro. Shannon, good night, good night, good night. Philip Alexandru, Ruth, Alan George, you see how to say, because sometimes it is that two people the same first name and thing. Nice. Maria, and all of you coming on there now. And then I'm seeing Patrick, Merrill. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh, there's so much on the Facebook. Let me see. Lynn, Vanessa, Yvonne Courtney, good night to you. Maudlin, Diana, Linda, Imelda, Francois. Let me see. Norma, good night to you. Shawnell, I see you dancing down the place, girl. Shanron. Mavis, Jillian, what's up? Right. Let me see. Kishon, good night to you. And let me see who else is there. Yeah, Kishon, you're dancing on the place too. Nice, right. Dwight, June, Joan. Let me see. Hey, Dr. Augustine Panchu. Good night to you, sir. Wallan, good night. Linda, Meryl. Hey, my girl. Good night to you, sweetheart. Paula. And let me see, Marcel is there, Betty is there, Maudlin is there. That my sister Betty? No, that's another Betty, right? Nice, you have a sister named Betty. Red Girl, good night to you. Rastafari, yeah, up in Appeal, good night to you, Aya. Nice. Cindy, Roll, yeah, good night to you. Vanessa, Christine, let me see, that's the other Christine. Nice, good night to you. Rodney. All right, Maudlin, I wonder if I call you out already, Maudlin. Maudlin, good night to you. Dominic, and let me see. Lydia, Leroy, yeah, Mary, Figgy, Denise, Tasha, right? Good night to all of you on the live. Whoever I miss out, you won't get called in our next one. Some people that say I miss them out. No, sometimes I have a little bit of difficulty seeing the screen that I'm reading it from because I have it at such a distance from me to be able to access the other stuff that I have to access. I'm actually working here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different screens that yeah, all I didn't know is that. Yeah, it's one member in the group, they could tell you that. I'm working with 5 different screens at the same time here. So 2 so, and 1 directly in front. Well, actually 2 in front. So it's actually 6, right? And then I have to be here. So I have a little problem seeing on this particular one. All right. Yes, and we will be taking your calls tonight at any particular time. We will be taking your calls. I had originally planned to deal with a specific issue tonight. I will not say what that issue is, but I will say that I realize a lot of false information is out in the public on that issue. And before I came and brought a guest on to speak on that issue, I decided at the 99th hour that it was better to not come on tonight, make sure that we have all the proper information, because I'm telling you, a lot of false information is out there. So I wanted to make sure that I have all that information outside. Yeah, that I get it inside. Yeah, this one I don't need envelope drop. This one I just need to go and find it and pull it up. Right, so that we can do that. So I'll deal with that on Monday. All right, I don't want to deal with that issue right now. We'll deal with that issue on Monday. But there are several other issues that I will be raising. I just need to load one thing there. I just need to load one thing to the system. So meanwhile, let me just put on this, and I'm going to load that one thing that I have to load to the system. But before I do that, remember this Sunday, all roads, we're heading to Hope Beach. Yeah, so we're heading to Hope Beach this Sunday. Remember, we're going up there. It starts from 10 a.m. So, hey, Stallion, what's seen, bro? Good night to you, Stallion. Yeah, so we're heading to Hope Beach. Somebody might have to give me a ride. We're heading to Hope Beach this Sunday. All right? Yeah, so it starts at 10 a.m. Food and drinks on sale. And one of the things that has been happening, a lot of folks have been messaging me on the studio WhatsApp, on my personal WhatsApp, on the Talking Points page. And so they want to come, but they are not sure how they're going to get there. So there are a lot of people in different communities that want to come. And I'll continue to say, speak to your constituency leads, the people who are leading for the new National Party in the constituency. Speak to them. Or if you're lucky enough to have a parliamentary representative, yeah, so we're not talking about Northwest St. Andrew Day. If you're lucky enough to have a parliamentary representative, speak to them and they will organize. So you need to organize some buses. In fact, even this evening, some people were saying to me, listen, we're willing to pay the bus, but we just want to know who organizes and who do we go to speak to come on out. We want to come. We want to come up to the activity. But who do we speak to organize the bus to come from, whether it's St. Patrick or over on the West Coast in St. John or St. Mark? They want to know who do they speak to get on the bus and to come on out to that activity on Sunday. So contact your constituency leads. All right, so contact the persons in your constituency. You know who they are. Contact your constituency leads and they would be able to organize buses for you. Because I think if they have 3 or 4, from what I'm hearing there, they might need 9 or 10. I don't know, because I don't know. A lot of people want to come on out to this activity. So they've been asking questions. If you do not know who your constituency lead is, or you can't get through within your constituency, then tomorrow during the day, I want you to take this number. The same way I take that number last night. All the people don't easy, before the program done, I had picture of the person, I had the person's full name, I had where they working in that office in St. John, everything, you know, easy. Yeah. So folks, if just in case you need to get in contact with the constituency lead and you don't have a number for them, call the New National Party main office, and you can call them on 440-1875 or 1876, right? So you could call either one, 440-1875 or 440-1876. I'll repeat it later in the program again, and one of the ladies there will be able to tell you exactly how to get in contact with, who you could get into contact with in the constituency, all right? To organize so that you can get on out to that activity. All right, so we're going to be having music, we have games, you have food and drinks on sale, and different things going to be taking place. And of course, yeah, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, you know he will be there. All right, and all your other parliamentary representatives. So again, we're not talking about St. Andrew Northwest Day. All your constituency representatives, they will be out there. So come on out, interact with your family, because we know the New National Party is more than just a political party. It's more than just an organization. It's a family. So we like to see our family. All right. So when we have an activity, we know if it's down in South St. George, we're going to see we family from quite up in St. Andrew and St. Patrick and St. Mark and St. John. This one is taking place in St. Andrew. So we're going to see our family come up from town. We're going to see our family come across from St. Andrew, come across from St. John and St. Mark and so on. We're looking forward to seeing our family on Sunday at the New National Party Fun Day. That's happening at Hope Beach, and it's starting from 10 a.m. So you know what? Yeah, let me drop this tune there while I get the while I get this other thing I want to load here.
To roots, remember we tradition. For this Kambule, Jambalasi ruling this time. Yes, we everywhere, taking it from the grapevine. We breaking all rules with fun, picong and rhyme. If the campaign didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't have say, oh, me mad bad motor paper pass in the yard. You say to make it better, you need to sting me finger. Now only 1 year later, this country having heart failure. Hey, you vote, you don't vote, same damn thing. The heart or the hand, same damn thing. You change, we ain't change, same damn thing. You win, you don't win, same damn thing. We love honesty, with it we must succeed. How can we grow without our basic needs? If you change your course, here could be paradise. Why strangle the hopes by trying to build on lies? If the taxman didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't have said, oh, me must bad Mr. Finance no pass in the yard. We working for little money. Hey, hey, you take it back as you give me. You entry for CT, and now you kill me with the death levy. Hey, we vex, we don't vex, same damn thing. We talk, we don't talk, same damn thing. We walk, we don't walk, same damn thing. We pay, we don't pay, same damn thing.
So I think I've got that sorted out now. So the phone lines are open, 440-7377. That's 440-7377. Sometimes I do things so fast I don't even realize I do it, you know. I shift something here, I don't even realize I move it yet, you know. So 440-7377. That's the number. And if you're in the New York area, 349-327-3101, you can give us a call. So I'm just making sure I have everything here, and then we're going to start it like this. So let me pull the first one up for you. Yeah, because yesterday was a very interesting day, really. And it was very interesting at our parliament sitting yesterday. Very interesting at our parliament sitting yesterday. And as I said last night, one of the things that caught my attention was the not wanting to answer certain questions. And I'll play here for you. It's going to take a couple minutes, but I think it's important for you to hear what was being said in relation to the Labor Commissioner appointment. Yeah, I think it's important that you hear for yourselves what was being said, the response that was given by Mr. Telesford, the question, the response that was given by Mr. Telesford, and then hear the response of Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. I want you to hear, because many of us may not have seen it. Many of us may not understand what took place there. So I think it's important for me to play that for you all right now. So let me just make sure I have that queued here, and I have it queued here, and right. So let me go with that.
Next question is to the Minister of the Leader of Government Business. Yes. Leader of Government Business, and the Minister of Social Services, Community Development. And the first question is about the only question, the Labour Commissioner.
Honorable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this question speaks to the criteria and process employed in selecting the former Labour Commissioner. It speaks to the qualification and background that landed the job and the reason for the dismissal. I am pretty sure, Mr. Speaker, that the leader of His Majesty's opposition is fully acquainted with the processes and procedures of the Public Service Commission and would have first-hand knowledge that such a question must be directed not at the leader of government business or the government of Grenada, but should be directed to the Public Service Commission. Because the Public Service Commission, Mr. Speaker, is a separate entity and does not, under this administration, answer to the government of Grenada. They are a separate creature, and we cannot, Mr. Speaker, we do not know of what criteria they use in their process. We do not know and have not seen the resume for the person so hired for the job and the reason for the dismissal. According to the best of our knowledge, Mr. Speaker, and the best of my knowledge, I have seen what was news in the press, just as the leader of His Majesty's opposition. And so I wish to advise the leader of His Majesty's opposition that he can so direct or redirect his question to the Public Service Commission. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Leader of Government Business. Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, of course, sometimes I believe I've seen it all, but it says that as you live, you will see and hear more. Mr. Speaker, I can say a lot what was just said. In fact, I think the member would have put himself in a very difficult spot by this comment. There was no need for it. And there's a lot that I will say in due course of this, what I consider, well, I find it difficult to get words. A non-answer. But with a tinge of arrogance. That's not what we're here for. I have a responsibility, honorable member, through you, Mr. Speaker, to ask questions on behalf of the persons that we represent and the people of the country. And answers appropriately must be given, not a dictate from a member. No, it cannot be. In effect, what he's saying, the Public Service Commission appoint permanent secretaries, so I should ask them no questions. The ministers are overall responsible for the leadership of the government departments. They have a fundamental responsibility. And you can't tell me to ask the Public Service Commission a question The Public Service Commission is not a creature of this parliament. Let's get it right, Mr. Speaker. They are not a creature of this parliament. Just like a permanent secretary or cabinet secretary is not a creature. Members of this side of the house, the government side, yes, they're green, but there are ways of getting information correctly, Mr. Speaker. And you can't be waving and telling me shut up. That's little children behavior. I have a responsibility, and you can't come here and talk like that. I do my best in cooperating and offering advice consistently. My whole approach this morning will tell you this. And my questions and information before I say a word. But I will not sit here as a member of this house, and after 30 odd years, almost 40 years as a member and father of this house, I didn't give myself that title to have this sort of answers given by the honorable member. Mr. Speaker, the question has to be answered, Mr. Speaker, and I hope you will use your good office to advise the member that the question must be answered, and don't ask me to go to the Public Service Commission for answer. Mr. Speaker, and as I take my seat, I would like that when questions are asked, because the questions will be coming. It will be coming. It won't stop. So if I have to be spoken to like a baby here by members in answering a question, in refusing to answer a question, then it will have to be over and over multiple times. I just ask members, in giving me answers, I would prefer to have the answers before the Parliament, because there may be need for follow-up question. Clarification, not necessarily more information, but clarification. So I just ask you, through you, Mr. Speaker, to members on the other side of the House, in future, I would prefer to have the answers before the Parliament session so that I can review them and give appropriate reply as I see fit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, folks, what you just saw there is, now, if you've been following politics, and I know the historian, I know you're somewhere around there tonight. I know you're somewhere around. You'll give me a call a little later on. We've had leaders of the opposition. You had Mr. Herbert Blaise in 1974. You had Mr. Maurice Bishop in 1976. Marcel Peters, 1984. Finsley St. Louis, 1987. George Brizan, 1987. Winifred Strawn, 1991. George Brizan, 1995. Michael Batiste in 2000. Tillman Thomas in 2004. Dr. Mitchell in 2008. In 2013, it was vacant. In 2020, Tobias Clement. And then Dr. Keith Mitchell again. And in all those years, I have never heard, in as much as I've been listening Parliament, and I've been following Parliament for many years, nearly 2 decades now I've been following Parliament, first as a journalist and then as a parliamentarian, myself a person involved in politics. The first 10 years was as a journalist, and then afterwards as a person involved in politics. I have never heard a more nonsensical and dotish answer to a question in Parliament. Never. In all those years, from Herbert Blaise to Maurice Bishop to Marcel Peters to Finsley St. Louis and George Brizan, coming right down to Dr. Mitchell. This is the first time I've heard such an arrogant, dotish, and nonsensical answer to a question in Parliament. The leader of His Majesty's opposition is not only asking the question on his behalf, he's asking those questions on behalf of each and every single Grenadian. Good night to the crew up in the Coconut in Mount Parnassus. Yeah, he's asking those questions on behalf of each and every single Grenadian. On behalf of you, on behalf of me, right? On behalf of everyone. Whether you voted for him or not, he's asking those questions on your behalf. And to tell him that he ain't supposed to come and ask you those questions, go to the Public Service Commission. Shows number one, Mr. Philip Telesford is not suitable to be the leader of government's business in the House of Representatives. He's an embarrassment to the Houses of Parliament of Grenada. The constituents who voted for him could tell you if he's an embarrassment to them. I ain't putting my mouth in that. But I'm telling you, as a former parliamentarian myself and a member of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, up to this day, Mr. Philip Telesford is an embarrassment to the Parliament of Grenada. We are held in high regard, not only within the region, but outside of the region too. You could go to New Zealand and people could tell you about Grenada Parliament. You could go in Australia and they tell you. You could go in Singapore and they could tell you. So when you have this sort of nonsense, a person who is given the responsibility to be the leader of government's business in the House, and doesn't understand a simple concept, as the Public Service Commission is not a creature of the Parliament. So that questions that have to be asked about what is taking place with the Public Service Commission and certain things they're doing has to go through the government side. And as leader of government's business, so you're telling me, therefore, is Mr. Philip Telesford telling me and telling Dr. Mitchell and all of us that questions in relation to healthcare ought not to be asked because the minister in relation to healthcare is not in the House of Representatives, as was pointed out yesterday. He's a member of the Senate. So that questions in relation to healthcare should only be asked in the Senate? No. As leader of government business, unless there is somebody else there that is given the responsibility to answer questions in relation to health on behalf of the Minister of Health at the House of Representatives, he as leader of government business has to answer the question. Not might, not could. He has to answer the questions. And this is a serious matter, because I realize that a trend has been developing from the first parliament sitting coming down, that questions are being posed and not answered, and all sorts of nonsensical, unrealistic reasons are being given. A man take up the Ministry of Finance and he say he can't answer because he just go in the Ministry of Finance. Nonsense. Because he, Minister Cornwall and Dr. Mitchell let them off easy, He let them off easy. Because he is not the one that had to answer the question. He's the one that had to come and present the answer. But he's not the one that, the people who in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Mike Sylvester, the Permanent Secretary, ain't change. The senior administrative staff, there may be one or two additions, but in general, the senior administrative staff within the Ministry of Finance have not changed. It's just the minister who is responsible has changed. And even that minister would have been responding in cabinet in relation to different issues and informing cabinet of what was taking place within their ministry in cabinet. So how you could use the excuse that you just come in the ministry so you don't know, that is a dotish excuse. It's dotish. There's no sense to it. The same goes with the Prime Minister. You pose some questions to him in his capacity as Minister of Works and so on. I say, taking time. Okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt that what is being asked is very detailed, so therefore that information has to be compiled. But don't come the next parliament sitting and don't come with the information, because I'm calling you out. That information is not secret information that's there and will cause some problem with national security. That's information that you could put out there in the public domain that people ought to know. So to use the excuse that, so what's going to happen when you shuffle the cabinet just now? People can't ask no questions because you go come and use the excuse that, you can't ask these questions. No, you ask the questions, but we can't answer because we just take up a ministry. You, the minister, is not the one going and do the reading. You, the minister, is not the one going and pull the files and take out the information and collate the data and all of the information in relation to spending and all of these things. You are not the one going to do that. Those are the technocrats and the other people from the permanent secretary down within the ministry to which you are the administrator. And therefore, to make a stupid statement like that in Parliament, it is disrespectful to the leader of His Majesty's opposition, Father of the House. It's disrespectful to him. But secondly, it's also disrespectful to each and every single Grenadian. It is disrespectful. You cannot refuse to answer questions. If there is a national security element to it, for instance, an investigation is taking place or something like that, and you state so that there are certain implications to this, and you may do so even quietly to the leader of His Majesty's opposition. You don't have to reach the Parliament to come and say that. You could do that before. You could say, well, we see a center question here, but these are the implications of that, and this is the reason we cannot provide that information at this time, because it may be a threat to national security, or it may be a threat to financial stability, economic financial stability of Grenada or so on. Then that information can be withheld. But in other instances, these questions, what is the criteria used? You telling me that the Ministry of Labor does not know the criteria that was used to hire the Labor Commissioner? Who's stupid? We or all you? Seriously, Mr. Telesword, who's stupid? Because it definitely ain't us. So you telling us that the Labor Commissioner was hired. Cabinet made a decision that they need to get a new Labor Commissioner, and they are unaware of the criteria that was used. Anyway, as Dr. Mitchell said, he has things to say in relation to that, and he will say it, but the question will be resubmitted from, that's what I picked up from what Dr. Mitchell was saying there. The question will be resubmitted, and a response must be forthcoming. You can't just lay it off. And Mr. Speaker, it is your responsibility to inform the member that he has to respond to the question. That's your responsibility. If you're not taking up your responsibility, then you're failing in your duties, and therefore you should be removed. But it is your responsibility, as you better read Erskine and Mays, Yeah, those who involved with Parliament would know what I'm talking about. Go and get a copy of Erskine and Mays and read. Because this kind of nonsense all you're doing there. Listen, I'll make a statement that might sound funny to some of you. I think that the present administration need to go and find a gentleman by the name of Victor Nazim Burke and ask for help. No, seriously. They need to go and find a gentleman by the name of Mr. Victor Nazim Burke and ask for help, guidance for when they're going into Parliament, the procedure and what they do. And so you see, you could say many things about Mr. Victor Nazim Burke. You can't say that he didn't used to know how to operate in Parliament, was a worthy opponent. Yeah? He understood the rules, he understood what should be done and what can't be done and different things like that. So, is a worthy person. Maybe then that, wow, I'm afraid, Mr. Burke. Speak with Mr. Burke. Yeah? Brother Naz, somebody go bring the message to you. Help them out now. Because you see that kind of nonsense they do in Parliament yesterday? Yeah, I would say many things about you, but I would never say that you're a stupid guy. Yeah? I would say, everybody know that. There ain't nothing to hide. I would say many things about you, Mr. Burke, but I would never say that you are a stupid person. Yeah? Mr. Burke understands parliamentary procedure. I think better they go and find him wherever he is, because I don't hear him, I don't see him, I don't know. I think they need to go and find him and ask for help. Yeah, especially when they're going into Parliament. And you have two members on that side that spent time in Parliament before the others and ought to know some parliamentary procedures. That's two of the youngest there. That's Ron Redhead and Karine James. These two people spend time in Parliament before. They're supposed to understand the procedure, although they used to spend most of the time out of Parliament doing other things. But still, they spend time in Parliament, so they ought to know at least the basic procedures and so. And I am sure that they pose questions during their time as well. So it is nonsensical and idiotic. It is totally unintelligible for Mr. Philip Telesford to go into the Parliament and then make them kind of nonsensical statements. The questions being asked are being asked by Dr. Keith Mitchell, but not for Dr. Keith Mitchell, They're being asked for every single Grenadian. So when Mr. Telesford stand up and say, don't ask us, go to the Public Service Commission, you should know better. Mr. Philip Telesford, you're rude, you're out of order. And in fact, I think the government need to start looking at having somebody else be the leader of government business in the House of Representatives. I'm giving them that free advice. All they need to move that guy and find somebody with common sense to put there. All right? Nice. 44073 4407377. That's the number for you to call and get on to the inside of tonight's program. Also, yesterday, and you can call. I'll stop anybody called. Yeah, let me take this call first of all here, because there's another issue I'll raise again. But let me just take this call on the WhatsApp first, and then I'll deal with another issue. Hello, good night. Hello.
Well done. And good night. Good night to our faithful listeners. How are you doing?
I'm quite fine, Doc. How are you doing tonight? When I say Doc, people just get excited at Dr. Panchu. Next thing all they think is Dr. Michelli, right?
Yeah. Don't mix me up with the honorable leader of His Majesty opposition. He is much more eloquent and astute than I am. But yeah, I know I have been away for a little while. Not away, but in calling. So it's good to be able to join with you tonight. There are 3 points I wanted to talk about, and of course you have already taken up with a penchant the attitude in Parliament of the leader of the government business, and I don't want to say too much about it, except to say I agree with you that he is an embarrassment to every Grenadian. But I don't even understand if he knows that he is embarrassing himself. Because Sheldon, he is the leader. That's a very responsible position in the House of Parliament, and he has to deliberate his business with finesse and with an understanding that he knows what he's doing. And his display yesterday comes very short of common sense and decorum. And I agree with Dr. Mitchell. What he did yesterday was very disrespectful. And it had more than a tinge of arrogance. And it borders on stupidity, I must say.
I ain't saying borders now. I saying it's stupidity. I ain't saying borders.
Yeah,
I'm not being diplomatic.
Yes. Very well. So that being said, so let's leave that one there. We will come back to it because there is no way that he is not going to answer the questions that are placed before him and before Parliament by the leader of His Majesty opposition. He will come to his senses, and I think the Speaker of the House will acquiesce to protocol and ask him to answer. I think after listening to Dr. Mitchell, he will come to the conclusion that the leader of the government business needs to really do better. Mm-hmm. That takes me. I am going to probably stay on Parliament. The other two things are triggered from Parliament yesterday, mm-hmm. and that is the blatant lie that was told to the Speaker of the House yesterday by the parliamentary representative for the St. John's. When she used the term, no, the term big dogs, really, Sheldon, is a colloquial expression to mean, and it can convey a lot of meaning, big boys, whatever it is. But when the Speaker pulled her on it, and she proceeded to tell the Speaker, sorry, sir, but you did not hear well because that's not what I said. Sheldon, that for me is not so much of a acute deal or a big deal. It is, but it is not so much for me. What I want to tie this into, Sheldon, and you will agree because you have said it over and over in your program, is that you notice that she knows that she's been recorded. She knows that the entire nation is watching and listening. Yet for all, she proceeded to say, you did not hear right, sir, with a smirk and a smile on her face. I think it's a spin-off, Sheldon, for what we have seen recently with governance. The blatant lies that have been told, the innuendos of untruth that have been propagated. So she is, as it were, a cut from the old block, a chip from the old block. She sees her leaders, she sees or prime minister, she sees other people, demonstrating lies and deceitfulness. And so birds of a feather flock together. So Sheldon, that is my worry. My worry there is not so much, the misuse of big dogs and big boys. It is the way that she felt so comfortable, Sheldon, to tell the speaker that, sir, sorry, you're not hearing well. You need to go to an audiologist and get your ears checked because you're not hearing well. Okay? And that is disgraceful. That's the piece that I want to talk about. Sheldon, the final thing, unless of course you have a question to ask me.
No, you go right ahead, Doc.
And Sheldon, the news in Parliament spin-off that we owe $2 million for drugs, essential drugs, Sheldon. And that's the reason why we have a shortage in the clinics and in the hospitals. Sheldon, I did a little research, and there are about 3 very common kind of drugs, or classification of drugs that we use a lot in Grenada. 1, antibiotics. Sheldon, everybody who goes to the hospital and who has an infection, they are prescribed some form of antibiotics, amoxicillin, and there are various different ones. And when right now we are a shortage of amoxicillin, so people with cuts and abrasion and other infections, they run the risk of not having a simple but a very essential drug, antibiotics. The other one that is used really a lot in Grenada is the painkillers, morphine and fentanyl. These drugs, Sheldon, are very important for surgery and recuperation and for wound care. So when you go in there and you are in pain, Sheldon, from a broken arm, strong medication that has morphine and fentanyl. And right now we are short, Sheldon, because we owe the drug companies $2 million and nobody had the sense to find out. Remember the mantra of this government was health care. One of the pillars that they said that they were going to address is health care. And in a year time, you're telling me that we are out of those essential drugs. The next kind of drug, Sheldon, are the mental health drugs, the antidepressants and the anti-anxiety medication, the Xanax and the Haldol. These are drugs that are needed and consumed by a large percentage of people who go to Mungay and or are seen in the emergency room of our general hospital. So when we don't have these, Sheldon, it tells me you need to say what it tells you. But I am so heartbroken when I hear that because we owe and we did not take the initiative to ask for a line of credit or to pay down on it, we run the risk. We would rather not have these essential drugs available for the Grenadian population. People are crying, people are bawling, children. Of course, you can go to the pharmacy and get some of those. But then again, with the lack of funds, a lot of people are not able to purchase these essential drugs. They depend on the government pharmacies for where it is really subsidized. But besides the subsidization of all these essential medications, we have to think of the hospitals. If you have a real emergency right now, Sheldon, according to what old people say, crap or smoke we pipe, because you will go to the clinic or to the hospital and there is nothing. I thank you, Sheldon. I thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Doc. All right. Yes, indeed. And folks, I wanna move since Doc raised that particular issue. Yesterday, Dr. Clarice Modest raised the issue in Parliament of the lack of drugs. at the various medical facilities. And this isn't Dr. Modest talking on her own. A list has been compiled from discussions with nurses on various wards, various departments, and other healthcare professionals. So when we call out and say that, look, we have a list of at least 30-something different type of drugs that are unavailable, yeah, we know what we are saying. And we're going to come back to that issue in a short while. Let me just take this call quickly. Hello, good night.
Hello, good evening, Sheldon.
Hi, the historian.
Let you know, God, man, you accusing me.
Yeah, man. You go right ahead.
My advice, right, to the probationers in Parliament is that Sir Kurt Strachan, a former Speaker of the House, wrote a little handbook, Fresh Man in Parliament. And I think that it would be very, very important that our present-day crop of politicians should try to get a copy of that book. Because so Kurt Strachan, realizing that, people just coming into the parliament is likely to make many errors. So he wrote this book as a guideline. So I believe every young politician or new politicians in the House of Representatives should try to arm themselves with a copy of that book. It will help a lot because the former speaker recognized what was happening, so he wrote that book. I do not know where it is available now, but it could be available somewhere, and I'll advise them on that.
I seem to remember receiving a copy of that when I entered Parliament.
Yes.
I may have a copy of that book at home. And the clerk at the time ensured that all of us that were coming in, especially as new parliamentarians, that we were properly briefed, that we had a glossary of parliamentary terms and so on, and the rules and everything. He made sure that we had a proper package. Long before you had your first parliament sitting, you had a proper package with all these things. And I seem to remember that book being part of that package. I could be subject to correction.
Yes, you see, and that is why that book was written. So people could get themselves acclimatized with the decorum of Parliament. Sheldon, for just general consumption, you miss also Eric as a opposition leader.
No, I was speaking from 1974 independence, not the pre-independence period. Yeah.
But he was the first opposition leader.
That would be 1960, 62.
Yes. Okay. He and Sir Joseph Gibbs.
Oh, Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, Joe Gibbs.
Okay.
So he was the first opposition leader, the third chief minister, the second premier, and the first prime minister.
Oui, Papa.
Yeah,
he bat in all position.
Yeah, he bat in all position because you see now, in 1962, instead of 1961, so Eric was unable to run. So George Klein led the GLP successfully. So George Klein was the second chief minister. You hardly hear people talk about George Klein, but he was our second chief minister. So it is very, very important that all people get themselves climatized with those information before they get us into this embarrassing situation and really do not understanding what is happening in our parliament.
And I'm sure
our parliament is the highest level of the quorum in the country, and we have young people looking on, and so we cannot go along with that type of behavior.
And imagine Dr. Mitchell, the person who has spent the longest time in Parliament, and he didn't just walk in Parliament and pull a chair and sit down. He was voted in to Parliament by the people of his constituency on how much occasions right now? I can't remember how much occasions.
What, six?
Yeah. So for you to take advice from him, so maybe you might be voted in as much as him instead of getting a one term and that's the end of your career, as going to happen with some of them.
Yeah,
instead of that happening, take advice from Dr. Mitchell. He's telling you how the parliament should function.
Obviously,
he's the person with the most institutional knowledge. Instead of listening,
he doesn't give you any harm. He doesn't make it. And people
instead of listening one day talking about shut up. Who is them to tell Dr. Mitchell shut up?
Oh God, man! I mean, I don't understand. But you have to understand, Sheldon. In the Northwest, St. George Northwest had up till to date has only been represented by 2 MPs, you know. George Hussein made one term from 72, well, 2 terms, from 72 to 76 or 76 to 79, and after revolution. And from that time, the people of Northwest St. George has consistently elected Dr. Mitchell to represent them. And therefore, that tells you something you must learn from Dr. Mitchell. Why is it that he has not been in and out of Parliament? Whether he has been on the in the winning side of the government or in opposition, consistently from 84 to now, he has been in the Parliament. Try and take a lead. Take a lead from the book of Dr. Mitchell's political life. That would guide you along.
Because I'll tell you this, my friend. I've been to several of the regional and even international forums politically. And there are so many people that would like the opportunity just to speak to Dr. Mitchell, for an hour and pick his brain in relation to politics.
Well,
you sit down in the parliament to demand. But you sit down in parliament to demand, even if you're on the other side, because I hear now there is Andy Williams that was telling him shut up. Andy Williams ain't even sure that he could finish the term he have, much less. No, it's true. He's not even sure that he could finish the term he have, much less get a next one. So but he should listen instead of listening.
And that is the arrogance they are displaying. They do not want to listen. They do not want to learn because they do not know. You understand? What? I mean, just for 1 minute. We speak a lot about the colonial period and the colonial period. But in 1957, 2 acts were passed in our parliament. 1, the Pension Act, and 2, for the conversion of the Legislative and Executive Council to the House of Representatives and the Senate. What was done there? That the members of the Legislative Council who was elected in 1957 were brought into the various departments of government because we did not have no ministries or ministers. So those elected people was brought into the various departments to be trained to be ministers. What we have today is people walk out from a shop, they become a minister. And that is why it is so important that the probationers must get that package, that book. Fresh Man in Parliament is extremely important, especially at this point in time. It is very instructive, and our parliamentarians need to read this book. I rest my case.
All right. Thank you very much, my brother. Yes, indeed, folks. There I was speaking to my historian. When I want to find out something, yeah, just check with that man. All right. But before we move, before we take any more calls, let me just play this one for you all. Because another piece from Parliament yesterday. And again, it just shows the arrogance of individuals and the attempt to mislead the Grenadian people in relation to issues. So let me pull this one up for you all here. Let me just play it here.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the matter of shortage of medication at our health facilities has been something that has been plaguing us for some time. Not just now. It seemed to be a recurring decimal. I did speak to the Minister for Health in relation to this particular subject matter, and he informed me, Mr. Speaker, that the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Finance are struggling to come to terms with bills far back as 2021 and 2022. This, Mr. Speaker, is a huge problem because medical drugs, as the MP for St. Mark would know as a practitioner herself, is very expensive. very expensive to produce, and it is a costly commodity for the state. But when you're owing millions of dollars to the suppliers of drugs for your country, when you send payment to them and have to apply to invoices that is running close to 2 years old, you can understand when you try to procure new drugs and you place an order, you do not get what you expect. And so we are coping with this right now. The millions of dollars that is due for drugs as far back as 2021. This is a problem. I am informed that the list of drugs that is missing is not that long list that I think I'm seeing from where I sit, but I was informed that it is about 6 drugs. And some of them, the ministry attempted to purchase from local drugstores here in Grenada. So you see the predicament, Mr. Speaker. And if we are purchasing from the local drugstores, it simply means that they will quickly run out of drugs themselves, and that the supply that they would get will be inadequate to deal with our needs. It is a problem, Mr. Speaker, that we've inherited. I know health has always been a matter of concern for all governments. We, Mr. Speaker, as a caring government, is doing the best that we can in the circumstances, trying to cope with these long outstanding bills. But, Mr. Speaker, it's not just a matter of payment. It's not just a matter of payment. It's a matter of analyzing all of these bills that is close to 2 years old and determining whether or not they are worthy of payment and settlement. So there is some confusion, Mr. Speaker, that has to be settled regarding this bill. So we expect in due course, as we continue, to unravel the situation, that we'll get to a stage where we come close as possible to current. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So let me preface this by saying that individual just spoke some of the most nonsense next to the nonsense that he spoke earlier on in response to Dr. Mitchell's question. And I'll say that in this context. How long ago was 2021? We're in 2023 now. Because the way he's speaking is like if the government of Grenada had bills there from like 1981 and 1991, and you didn't pay since the year 2001, or you didn't pay since 2011, or some kind of thing like that. You're talking about during the COVID crisis. COVID started at the end of 2019. Grenada went into lockdown in March of 2020. Notice what I'm saying? In March of 2020. We had the first case, and then we went into lockdown not too long after that. I think either the end of March or April, somewhere there, we went into full lockdown. 2020 was basically a year that you had very little economic activity taking place in Grenada. In fact, if the economy of Grenada had not been managed in the proper manner it was managed coming up to 2020, Grenada would have found itself in a situation having to go hat in hand begging all over the place, unable to survive. But because the economy was managed so well in 2020, civil servants could never say they didn't get paid. Different drugs and so were available. If any drugs were not available, it was not due to Grenada not paying. It was due to a shortage on the world market, because then you had places like India and so you went into lockdown. The countries that produced drugs went into lockdown. So the problem was not that the government of Grenada, the new National Party government, the problem was not that the government was not paying for drugs, because Grenada had, up to 2022, Grenada actually had the best record in the OECS in relation to payment for drugs from the OECS pharmaceutical program. Grenada had the best record between 2013 coming up to 2022. So to come and try to give the impression that you're speaking about 5 years of backlog and not paying, or 20 years of backlog and not paying, is very disingenuous of the Member of Parliament for St. George Southeast. It's very disingenuous of him. Yeah? Come on, understand? All are we ain't stupid enough to get $10 million for our fowl farm, you know? Yeah? All are we in dotish? Right? So we have to understand that Grenada has the best record in relation to payments. You all find money to create a new ministry, and when Dr. Mitchell asks you all the question, to this day, they have never stated the salaries of the people working in the Ministry of Implementation and Transformation. They have never stated the total amount of money it took to start up that ministry. They say how much they pay for furniture and things, but they're staying away from the salaries. They ain't talking about that at all. They found money to do that. They found money to give themselves a $24,000 a year increase. They found money to pay the teachers. So whether you agree that they should or they should not have paid the teachers, there was money there to pay that. So they found it more important to pay something that was, that was politically expedient. Because you saw them whining and dancing with Judas Jude and them on May Day, and they know they could go there because they did what was politically expedient. But the students who those teachers teach, and the grandparents of those students, and some of the teachers themselves, are the ones that now cannot get the medication. When they were speaking about the pension payment, we said instead of just taking all the money and pay the pension and then you end up broke as they are right now because we know they're having problems paying salaries, they have to go hat in hand asking different people to help out. Instead of ending up in that situation, we said pay the pension in tranches. So you have X amount of money for people, you give them half, so they get half. And then within 6 months to a year, you give them another half. And then within another 6 months, you give them another half again. No. We're giving them all the money one time. And now you're owing the OECS Pharmaceutical Fund and you can't access medication. And Mr. Philip Telesford, you lie. It's much more than 6 sets of medication. You lie. I could name all that it don't have and what in short supply. You lie. I shall Lon Scott saying that you misled Parliament. You lie. Take me to court. You lie, you lie, you lie. There's much more medication. If you're talking about maternity ward alone, you may be talking about 6. Emergency department, you don't have morphine. You all know that you're running low on saline. In other words, drips. You're running low on that. You know what I'm saying is true. But you tried to mislead Parliament. So you feel we just be saying thing here? You feel we just saying thing here? And look at somebody just remind me, they found money for all the advisors. 2 in the ministry that running. Yes, Ron, the van man. Yeah. 2 advisors in his ministry alone, going home with thousands of dollars on a monthly basis. They found the money for that. So he forget that he's talking about the government owe for 2022. Mr. Telesford, 30 days from today will be the 23rd of June. In other words, your administration was in power for more of 2022 than the new National Party administration. Your administration was in office for exactly 6 months and 7 days of 2022. So when you're talking about who owing and the backlog for 2021 and 2022, let's just remember something. The 2021 backlog had to be paid in when? 2022. Who was in office for the most time in 2022? In other words, for 6 months and 7 days. So you were in office for more time than the new National Party was in office in 2022. Who was in office? You and your government were in office. So don't try to pull that one and try and pull the wool over the people's eye. Stop the damn excuses and get the medication. Stop it. That is what you all have to do. Get out of the excuses and find solutions. You know, let me tell you all something. I worked with then Senator Emlyn Pierre way back in 2005, and so I worked with Senator Emlyn Pierre. I was the public relations officer in her ministry. And you know, if something happened, by the time you're going to give her an excuse, like you're supposed to do something, you didn't do it at the time you're supposed to do it or something. You know one thing I learned from Emlyn Pierre? She always said, listen, learn from what take place. We understand, okay, that has happened and so on. Where's the solution? How are we fixing it? She ain't taking time to berate you and, oh, you do this and you do that and it's your fault and this. No, that happened. Okay, how are we addressing this? How anybody that really work together with Emlyn Pierre could tell you that. That has always been her approach. So something happened, it's not, oh God, that happened and you to blame and you and that one to blame and this one to blame. No, okay, this has happened. How do we fix the problem? Yeah, what is the solution and how can we put something in place so that problem doesn't occur again? I think Mr. Philip Telesford, maybe one of those medication is one that you need to be taken, because I can't think you went inside there with your sane head and say that total nonsense in response to the question of medication. I have been speaking to the nurses. I have lists of the medication that is missing. That's why I could tell you specific things like what they need in surgery to put people under. I know for a fact you all have been buying medication from some of the suppliers out here. But when you do that, you're also making sure that the man on the street, who you already take the 150 from, now he can't purchase it even when he go to the hospital, and he can't get because it's in short supply because you all buy out all. So even when a family member sends some money for him and he go, he can't get it. This thing is life and death, you know. This thing is not about a Sheldon Scott. This thing is not about a Dr. Keith Mitchell, or this one is not about, it's not about us. It is about everybody in Grenada and the safety and security of all Grenadians. So when you come and you're playing manje papa with this thing, something had to be wrong with you, brother. What kind of answer is that? So listen, the bills from 2021 would not be paid in 2021. They'll be paid in 2022. You was in power for the most at 2022. Am I lying? Let me check the live. Somebody tell me, am I lying? Is what I am saying nonsense? Am I lying? Am I saying something wrong? I'm checking the live. Somebody tell me. Yeah? They met the money inside there. You had transition leads. You pay them one pile of money. How much million pay out to the transition leads and them for how much months of work? You spend $500,000 on traveling alone. You don't come back with a halfpenny on traveling alone. $500,000. And by now it may be 2 million. Who knows? But I think Mr. Philip Telesford must have, Mr. Telesford, we had to put you through a drug test, because I'm kind of worried right now. You could not go inside there with your sane head yesterday. Nah, man, you knocked your head somewhere before you went in. You wasn't in your right head. Yeah? And I ain't gonna say like how the speaker said, what? It was parliamentary, it was exuberance. No, it wasn't exuberance, that was stupidity on full display. That is why I make sure and I play it, because I want people to hear. Your party was in power for 191 days last year. The majority of the year was your party. The bills from 2021 had to be paid in 2022 by both the New National Party and your party. But some of the bills would have come in, and you know, a dangerous statement. This man actually saying that they didn't intend to pay some, you know. What do you mean they didn't intend to pay some? Grenada get the drugs. They use the drugs. The people sending the bills. And you saying you have to review to see if some of them worth paying? Nah, boy, we in a bad way. Let me go to the phone lines. Hello. Let me give a short terrace. Hello, good night, sir.
How you doing, brother?
I'm quite fine. You go right ahead.
Man, great program. I always listen to you, man. And you know what, Sheldon? You are coming with the facts. You are doing your research, and you're putting the facts on the table. So you're not guessing this game. But let me just say this, Sheldon. This is ridiculous. The government claimed to meet what you call a pregnant treasury.
And that's what they said. They met a pregnant treasury there.
And anything that is happening from June 22 to now is happening under their watch. But they are behaving like if the NNP is still in government.
Well, I can understand.
I
They
don't
were in
understand.
office.
It's under your watch.
He doing like if they come in office last week.
You claim that if you get into government, you're going to fix things. You're going to do things better. And now you're still putting the blame on someone else. This is ridiculous, isn't it?
No, I'm telling you, this thing is serious. That a minister could go and lie and say it's only 6 medication. That minister must have bounced his head on the way to Parliament. I think he need to go and take an MRI. Something ain't right.
No.
From the response to Dr. Mitchell earlier in relation to the PSC, to this particular one, I know if he think he was down in a riser asking for 10 million to go and open a chicken farm that failed. I ain't think he right in his head. Something had to be wrong.
But Sheldon, the way they're behaving is like the NNP is still in power. It's happening under your watch. You got to fix it. Am I right?
But even if it ain't happen under their watch, they need, if the medication came in during the NNP time, it's Grenadians that use it.
Of course.
And the money was there to pay it. So they could have paid and sort out that problem. But instead of that, now you want to come in Parliament, after you misspend the money, you do all kind of craziness after you were told, hey, be careful, do things this way, that way, and all kind of thing. They change up the law in relation to fiscal responsibility. They do all sorts of nonsense. Now we have a problem with medication. Elderly people can't get the high blood pressure medication. They get it in the hospital, but they can't give them any to go. Some of them going to the pharmacy, they can't get different medication and so. And you have this man, bold-faced, stand up their line. Say, I don't know. But don't come and lie to the Grenadian people like if you know, and the other side telling a lie. Say you don't know. Dr. Modesta, will you call me in a while? Somebody tell Dr. Modesta, say she had to call me.
But they claim that they're going to, whatever it is, they claim they're going to fix it. Whatever happened now, it's under your watch. You got to fix the problem. You can't put blame on anyone else. You claim that you meet a pregnant treasury. Why didn't you take money to assert your money so you could buy medication? You going on plane ride week after week and you're having fun and people are suffering for medication? This is ridiculous.
And you see the going in Parliament and dropping names. Oh, when I was in Germany and I went to Dubai and I went to this place and that place, and when they come back, that helping the treasury? Any of that helping the treasury?
They are traveling and have the thing on Facebook. I'm in Cuba. I'm going to New York. I'm going to,
Never see,
people,
come see.
People need medication.
Never see, come see. That is what happened there. Never see, come see.
But that is irresponsible. That is gross irresponsibility because, healthcare is number one priority.
But you see, my friend, it just goes back to the childish mentality of these people. Some of these people might be big in age, but in mentality and behavior, they're childish. To try to put the blame on the New National Party, my God, stop trying to place the blame. Fix the problem. The problem is under you right now. People can't get the medication.
Under your watch. That's my point.
My goodness.
And I think that they should, when they're not doing any research, they're not doing any homework, they're just driving around and going to Parliament and just talking nonsense. I remember going to school. When I get into secondary school, I used to do my homework, preparing for school next day, but they're not doing any homework.
Man, I tell you, this is a bad situation.
No, it is bad.
Boy. All right, my friend.
All right,
we'll speak again soon.
Keep calling them out. Okay?
All right, thank you. Yeah. 6 months and 7 days at 2022. You go calling out 2022 in Parliament like if, NNP was in power for the whole of 2022. So therefore, they were responsible for paying the bills in 2021 and 2022. You're in 2023, People have the problems with medication now. Yeah? You find money to do all kind of thing. You're looking to find money right now to raise your salary even further. Yes, you're looking to find money right now to raise your salary even further. And yet still, you couldn't find money for these things. We have a call online. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Scott. Good night.
Good night, my dear.
How are you?
They are good. Don't worry, you hear the voice. I'm still good.
All right, awesome. So, Mr. Scott, I said over and over before the elections was called, I said, this is serious business. They only going around talking about give us a chance, give us a chance. Like if it's a raffle or some kind of bake sale or some kind of thing. Give us a chance for what? To make nonsense and shipping it. This is not a playground. And look what is happening now. They don't even know how to prioritize, meaning deal with the urgent situations first. Everything else could fall afterwards, including you adding $2,000 to your salary. That could come afterwards. Paying the doc salaries of the teachers, that could come afterwards. Pension payments, that could have paid in stages. No money to do what they have. And the thing about it is, they do need to pay for the medication coming out of their pocket and their personal bank account. It's the money was in the treasury to do it. And as they reach, they get noticed. They see a set of money, so they don't know what to do. And they make nonsense. I've been saying these people are not ready. And look what is happening now. No, they don't even want to take responsibility. Being in government is being responsible. You have a whole country to be responsible for. Whether it was the last administration, it doesn't matter. The money is not coming out in your pocket. Take care of the bill. You understand? Mm-hmm. Listen to me. If Dr. Kit Mitchell go to think like them, back in 2008 when NDC left Grenada like in shambles, if Dr. Kit them, Grenada would have still been a state. Mm-hmm. But he decided to pick up the ball and move on because they're in government now. And this is what this government should be doing. Charting the way forward. Picking up the ball and run. But no, instead, they want to cast the blame and say, we don't know if we're going to do it. We're not sure if we're going to pay it. It is not your money. Mm-hmm. You understand? So that is my contribution tonight.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. 4407377. Let me see if I could get Dr. Modest on the line. I know usually when I send a message again, I call one time. I hear 2 beep there just now. I'm hoping it's she that's trying to reach me. So Dr. Modest, give me a call. But yeah, I will tell you directly that the minister lie. He lie. He more than lie. Let's see if this is Dr. Modest. Hello, good night.
Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Wonderful to hear that. Wonderful to hear that. I've been listening to the program for quite a while, and I just decided to call and give my input. Mm-hmm. I want to say this, right? And I will be categorically clear. Any minister of health that does not see to himself to take medical treatment in his own country when he falls sick, he will never see to it to make that particular ministry a good one. You understand? Mm-hmm. Because right now, Grenada is at a crisis. And if you are talking about medication here now, we may just see the death rate increase. Because if people cannot get certain medication to deal with some of their problems that they have to deal with, you may just see the death rate increase. Another thing is I want to say is, this government gets satisfaction in seeing the poor and vulnerable or people in their country suffer. Because they cannot tell me so much is happening. You are hearing the many cries of the many Grenadian people over there, and you are not adhering to that. Sheldon, I want to say these people is a bunch of actors. They deserve to be in Hollywood, and the posing and smiling and taking pictures cannot resolve the issues that we are having in this dear country. We have to hold these people and continue to hold these people accountable. We have to hold them accountable. And when you have ministers lying, publicly lying in the House of Parliament, this is something of great concern. Because if they could lie publicly, what would happen behind the closed doors? We are talking about the state affairs. These people are dealing with the state affairs and not affairs of their home. They are dealing with the state affairs. And when the state affairs have to be dealt with, we need serious people that can deal with the state affairs. This is just my 2 cents I want to put in. I could be wrong, but longevity do has its place, my brother.
Right, my brother, thank you. Yeah. I tell you, I realize I'm trying to reach Dr. Modest and I'm not getting through to her phone as well. So I'm not sure what is happening, if her phone gone dead or she's out somewhere where she doesn't have a signal or whatever it is. But I'm not getting through to her. I hope somebody will get a message to her before the program is ended and she will give us a call. Let me see. We do have a call online. Good night.
Hey, Sheldon, good night, man.
Good night, brother. How are you?
Hey, Sheldon, listen, liars have no memory. Because
So who was in office for most of 2022? Oh, man.
Exactly. And then he's quoting 2021. So what they need to do is ask the leader of the the opposition how he get it done if he owed 2021 and was still receiving drugs in 2022.
Let me tell you.
The problem with them, they don't want to learn.
Let me repeat for you, so that everybody would hear.
Yeah.
Grenada has the best record with payments in the OECS. All the other countries owing a pile of money. Grenada had the best record.
I understand that, Sheldon, and I know that we've been paying our bills. But I'm saying, based on what he is saying, I'm trying to prove to him how stupid he is. Because he is saying that under the NNP, there were bills from since 2021. So if what you're saying is true, then how the NNP was receiving, how come the NNP was receiving drugs? And now you're in government for only, not even a year. And then, what you call them, PAHO, is not supplying?
No, but it's the
So it has to be something.
OECS Pharmaceutical Fund.
Right. Right. So, and they are not supplying, so it's something that they don't know they're not doing. So they need to go to Dr. Mitchell to learn how to get it done.
I tell
Simple
you,
as that.
one minister was able to secure $2 million in the GDB. Yeah? In the Grenada Development Bank. From what we're hearing, another minister was able to secure 1.7 million. I am pretty sure that they don't owe all that amount of money to 1 PPS. And that's the OECS Pharmaceutical Fund. It's called 1 PPS. I'm pretty sure they don't owe them that amount of money. But ministers were able to get multi-million-dollar loans through the GDB. But we can't get medication.
No, because that is not their priority. That is not their priority. Their priority is to fill their pockets. They don't care about the poor people. They don't care about
my
the
brother,
people.
I think I am getting Dr. Modest on the other line. So I just got a message there. I think I'm getting Dr. Modest on the other line. So let me try to take her now. Yeah. Right, great, thanks. All right, so folks, I want you all to stay off the line for a little bit. Let us get Dr. Modest in. Yeah, because I know Dr. Modest is the one that raised the question and you hear that kind of answer. So let me give Dr. Modest a couple minutes to call in. Let me hope it's her that are getting there now because, right, let me hope it's her. All right. Hello, good night.
Hello, good night, Brother Sheldon.
I know my loyal Dr. Modest will call me once I call. She will answer.
I have to answer. I have to answer. Good night to Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique, and to all your listening public all over the world. Good night.
But Dr. Modest,
I have been summoned, so I'm here.
I am wondering what nonsense this man. You can't say it like me. But what shopping is this man come saying there yesterday? You're 2020. You're over 2021 and 2022, so you can't get in 2023. Well, who was supposed to pay for 2021? That would be paid in 2022.
Well, look, Sheldon, we know that government is a continuum. If the preceding government has done well, they leave the succeeding or successive government in a good position. And we heard it from the mouth of the present Prime Minister. He found a treasury loaded with money. However his words were, I hear people say it in different ways, but the treasury had a lot of money. We didn't say it, he said it. That's number one, which means that our performance was good. So if there was a debt for drugs in 2021, then you had money to pay it. And you see, we need to understand how the OECS PPS operates. Now, it's not like when you order something from Amazon and so you pay with your credit card up front and then you get the supply. The OECS PPS, the Pharmaceutical Procurement Services, it is a child of the Eastern Caribbean countries, islands, however you may call it, that had been set up to procure, to purchase drugs for the OECS at the best price possible. So they bulk purchase, and everybody knows when you purchase in bulk, you can negotiate a better price for whomever you are purchasing, and that is what happens. But also they provide other services like training for the staff, relevant staff in the Caribbean. They test the drugs to see if they're satisfactory. Every member state may not have the ability to test drugs, but periodically they select certain drugs and they test. So they provide other services to ensure that drugs, medication, other supplies reach to the citizens of the Eastern Caribbean in a timely fashion and in good quality. And this is what has been happening. So you don't have to pay up front. Usually is a pay and take kind of thing. You order. So the member states would order what they want, and it would be sorted out. It would, in terms of time, in terms of where they order it, how they order it, and they send it to the member states, and you pay. Right? The member states might pay all at once, or they may have a payment schedule where they pay. But the thing is, they will give you the drugs up front. And even if you have not paid all of what you owed, from my experience, they will still supply you with your next order based on your payment performance over the years. And I heard you say it. Grenada has been one of the better performing countries in the whole Eastern Caribbean. And the fact that from 2021 to 2023, we could only owe $2 million, it speaks volumes, because drugs are expensive. And I look at my list, it's a wide range of drugs. I have about 36 other supplies, medication, and other things like IV fluids and so on that are lacking. And if you only owe $2 million, it says, one, that it is within reach to pay it because you met a treasury that was well supplied, well fortified. But it also means that maybe you have not been ordering as much. So I don't know what dynamics or lack of dynamism has caused the present problem, but the government was in a position to deal with it. So going back to say that you're paying debts from 2021, hey, from 2022 you were in office. What has been done? And the cry has not gone out, no. I want to also state that we have had instances where we have owed, and all OECS countries have had instances. And if the payment is long overdue, they would send you a notice. They would send you a notice by whatever means, letters, phone call, whatever, and let you know where you are with this thing. They have periodic meetings, and they would let usually the ministers attend or the chief pharmacist attend, and they would raise those concerns. So they don't just stop giving you medication. You have to really be a major defaulter to do that. So they need to come out clean and tell us what has happened. You cannot be negotiating with the OECS. They're not that kind of creature. They are our creature. They are there to serve us. And if we have a situation, any member state, they will sit and work with the member state to see how they could resolve it, knowing the importance of all of these medications. We're talking about antibiotics. We're talking about painkillers. We're talking about sedatives, narcotics, IV fluids, all kinds of things. Just basic things for cleaning wounds and dressings. These are things we do not have. And the cry has gone out. This is not new. And I waited, and I didn't say anything before because I thought, in fairness to them, give them a chance to pay it off. Because every country experiences shortage of certain drugs. But it is overbearing. It is overburdensome. You have medication for mental situation that people used to get at reasonable cost. I'm not saying to give it everything free. I am one who always believes that if people can afford to pay, then they should pay. But the problem is, one, if it's not available, where do they go? And two, if they go to the private sector, it is going to be more expensive. And we have to understand that this PPS was established to provide that service at accessible prices to the people. And that is what our people have been denied by these medications not being ordered. There are times you have to go to the private sector to buy. So be it. There are times when the pharmacy may have to order it from somewhere. So be it. But that range of medication, it tells me that a lot of these medications come from the OECS PPS. And I look, I realize I have to update my formulary. But I look at the formulary, a lot of these drugs are on the formulary. Maybe some may have changed. I don't know the last details. Maybe, who was more recently Minister of Health can elucidate on that, give us some kind of information. Because while I was in government, I wasn't the Minister for Health. So I do not know the details, but I know we did not have this kind of atrocious shortage that we have now. Very, very disturbing. And I really hope that the government will step up and take up its responsibility because people are hurting doubly now. Cost of living and all of those things are a burden. But when you do not have access to medication, this is a serious, serious indictment on the government for reneging on the promises they have made.
One of the most dangerous statements I heard him make yesterday, which puts me into the frame of mind that if we have problems now, we're going to have a disaster in the future, is that we're looking at some of the bills to see if they're worth paying. What kind of statement is that?
Well,
we're looking at some of the bills to see if they're worth paying?
I couldn't understand. I couldn't
PPS?
understand, but it showed that, and my concern was I had to bring it up in Parliament, and I used the opportunity afforded us as opposition to do it, which was practically at the end of the Parliament sitting, but that's that is where it usually, these matters, if you're not a minister or so, and if you don't have a personal explanation, then that is where you bring it up. But the point is, the government knows that there is a shortage. So you come to Parliament unprepared as though, because the sitting minister is not an MP and is not in the lower house, you come unprepared? I find that is gross disrespect to the nation.
And let me say another point that points to the fact that Mr. Philip Telesford is an unadulterated liar. He says that he raised the issue of lack of medication with the minister. If it's only 6 medication, you go in and raise that to the minister that 6 different sets of medication not available. 6 different medication not available, and you're buying it in the pharmacies and so on. You have to actually go to the pharmacies and start to buy a pile of medication. Come on, if it's only 6 medication that wasn't available, there is no way that he would have a conversation with the minister in relation to that. It has to be that it's a serious matter.
It is a serious matter. I have heard enough, and since I spoke up to it, the matter a few days ago, persons have sent me information about the inability to purchase those medications. and to deny access to people from education. When you met a full treasury, and when you have been, how do we say it now? The revenues have been great over the past few months. When they compare it to 2021, the revenues have been. I have seen information that say it has been so much better. So it begs the question: what are we doing with the resources, the revenues that are generated? What is happening to it? How do we prioritize? Is health a priority? And if we're thinking of building a new hospital, then how are we going to supply this new hospital and make it relevant and useful to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and whoever visits this country? Mm-hmm. Where are we going? So we're on a dangerous path.
Very, very dangerous.
And I wish this was not a topic I had to discuss, because I find it painful. And I know people will say, well, it happened, but I well recall in 2013.
That's what I was going to ask you.
We met a similar situation, and I don't know if you have details on that, Sheldon.
I don't have the details in front of me.
We met a similar situation whereby we were defaulting grievously, and the OECS PPS had then stopped honoring the orders that were made.
Mm-hmm.
Are we seeing a repeat of what happened then?
You know what I remember, Doc? I remember in 2013 when we got in, there was an existing situations where they were using the IV tubes and so on, and they were washing them out and putting them to dry in the back of the hospital. I have pictures of it up to this day.
I don't have photos, but I had heard that.
I have the photos of it.
I had heard that. I don't have photos.
What they were doing that and several other things. And there were all of these problems, and in came the new National Party and sorted that problem out. But you know, one funny thing that happened, about a year into the new National Party thing, I asked the minister at the time, well, what going on with this thing? They're still doing that? He said, no, you know, some of them was still taking it because they get so accustomed to not throwing those tubes that they were still washing them and putting them to dry out in the bag, even though government was buying. They had gotten so accustomed to it. But the new National Party came in and sorted that problem out, and many of the other problems that existed. Yeah, that's one of the first things you had to jump on.
Very quickly, we had to jump on it and engage them. That is the thing about them, because they are there to serve us. You can get on the phone, you can engage, you can have a conversation, you can make commitments, and you can start paying. Don't know if $250,000 would have done it, $500,000, but you can start paying. And once, because if they don't get money, then it's not a big profit-making institution that they can keep going indefinitely without getting paid. So if they don't get paid, then they cannot serve the purpose for which they were created. The institution was created. So you have to pay, and then they'll usually, work something out with you. So something hasn't, that should have happened, really hasn't happened. And instead of giving those kind of, it seems to me that what we got was a Band-Aid to treat a massive hemorrhage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is what it seemed to me. The answer we got was like that: take a little piece of plaster and fix it, and the Parliament, and take it or leave it, because we could give you any answer we want, however we want, and this is the people's, this is the house of the people, that where you're supposed to represent them and give them an explanation and information, and lamentably it was not done. So yes, I think we just have to keep pressing for it. For some immediate redress on this matter, and let us just hope that we do not have any massive situation where a lot of medical supplies would be required. And I just want to keep saying that NNP has done well when I look at how we manage things, and everybody I hear people beating their chest. NNP didn't do that, and we're doing it now. But how come? What happened? How we forget health? So, Brother Sheldon and Grenadians, let us hold strong. Let us trust in God. Let us be prepared to serve and to help in our country wherever we can. And, whenever I maybe criticize, it is with good intention, because this is our country. And what happens to one of us happens to all of us. I just really wish that it's not a playing field that you neglect. This is a matter of life and death. So I hope the matter can be addressed in short order.
All right. Thank you once again for always being available when we call, Doc. We
thank you
so
very much. And good night to all.
And see you on Sunday.
We can make it.
And see you on Sunday. And see you on Sunday.
We will make it.
Doc, see you on Sunday as well, eh?
Pardon?
See you on Sunday at Hope Beach.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I'll be there. And a little bird was whispering in my ear, why don't we do some little health checks? Check some sugar.
I think
and
so,
so on. Because we have to do our part. And I'm always willing to do it regardless to which government is in office.
And that's why...
And the nation's is the nation's business. And if allowed to, I am willing to do it. If they're willing to give me a few strips, I don't know if they have. I am willing to use it for the benefit of the people. But if not, we will look around and see. I know one of my fellow physicians has mentioned that he's willing to start some health fairs. And whether the government is doing well or not, it's always good to have a check. So we'll talk again, and if we have more information, today is Wednesday, for the last program tomorrow night, I will let you know. We're looking at doing that. I hope we can at least, maybe the early birds will get tested. We can't do everybody, because I really expect a great crowd to come out on Sunday. Let us just celebrate life, and let us just resolve ourselves to doing whatever needs to be done for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Have a good night, sir.
Thank you, Doc. All right, bye-bye. And folks, here's what I'll suggest, though, because I know many of you, sometimes you want to donate things like strips and so on. The same number that I gave earlier, 440-1875. If you've got some testing strips or you've got a blood pressure machine and so on that you're willing to donate, contact us, 440-1875. Just tell the ladies that answer the office at the New National Party headquarters. Just tell the ladies, look, you have that. Can you get it? We want to know how to get it to Sheldon. All right? And they will give you directions. Either you could get it to the office, or they would give you my number. You could contact me, and then we'd be able to organize, and I'd be able to get it. Yes. I'll tell the ladies to make sure to give you all my number if you call, right? And we could organize so that we could probably get some additional strips and so on, so that we can do some health checks up there. Check blood sugar and your blood pressure and so on. Yeah, you see, that's why I'll always miss Miss Ann Hopkins. I will always miss Miss Ann Hopkins. I know something like that, she'd be there. And she had a way of finding things and organizing, and no, she'd be there. All right, folks, and we're into our final few minutes of today's program. So again, that Parliament sitting, all kind of things happen there. And you know one of them? I want to remind you all of something though, because I'm calling on the Speaker himself, to take control of the House. You cannot have the House of Representatives where people have voted for every one of the people that sit down there, whether they're on the NNP side or they're on the NDC side. People went out in their numbers, and the majority voted for each and every person sitting down there. That is why they're sitting down there. And you, Mr. Speaker, have to respect each and every one of them. And respecting them also means that you do not allow other people inside there to disrespect them. So you can't have people telling people shut up and trying to disrupt the sitting. That is wrong. Although we know, Mr. Leon Cato, we don't forget what you say on the 27th of April 2021,
Says and asks, We have been seeing pockets of meetings around Grenada with young activists, including members of the NDC, which is having a domino effect and a threat to the administration. Question 1, can you tell us if that's the new face of the NDC going forward?
Well, I am not sure of the meeting being referred to here, but the NDC will support any meeting, any gathering that is trying to bring an end to a bad system. Right? The NDC has its original face and leadership and what have you, but the NDC is open to everyone who is willing to come together to get rid of what we consider to be a bad system.
Just remember, that's the President Speaker of the House, on the 27th of April. Yeah, the 27th of April, 27th of April 2021. He was willing to work with anybody to get rid of NNP. So that's why he goes sit down in the House of Representatives now and allow people to disrespect Dr. Mitchell and disrespect members of the new National Party team. No, Papa. No. Do your work. You're the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Read Erskine and Mays. Go and ask some old parliamentarians. Go and find people like Nazim Burke and so on. If you want to ask some people on the NNP side, you have people like Mr. Lawrence Joseph. Yeah, you could go and ask them. You have people that sat in the chair before that's still around. You could go and ask them. But find out what you're supposed to be doing. I know sometimes as the headmaster it's hard to deal with disagreeable children, but you have to do it. All right? And before the program ends tonight, some people only asking me to play this thing. Well, you're so boy. All you only asking me to play this thing, Why is me all does want to do these kind of things? Before the program is ended tonight, people keep saying, Sheldon, we want you to play the minister from St. John's. Well, a good friend of mine, who shall remain nameless, a good friend of mine sent something to me. So let me give you all the updated version. Let me just give you all the updated version. Let me see if I could get it to play here. Nice. All right. Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I could get that to play there.
And if we don't go out and speak among the big dogs to mobilize our funding.
Thank you, Honorable MP, for the constituency of St. John. I think I heard you say dog. Big dogs, did I? But in Parliament, we are supposed to watch our language.
I think you heard wrong this morning, Mr. Speaker. He said big boys.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
The big dogs. I said big boys.
Oh, goodness. Mr. Speaker, I did not say big dogs. I said big boys. Summer, all you do easy, Summer, all you do easy. Folks, we just have a couple minutes remaining on tonight's program. But yeah, I have a problem with the lies that are being told to the Grenadian people and passed off as truth. Yeah? Clear example, and we've dissected the response of the leader of government's business in the House of Representatives. We've dissected his response in relation to the medical situation in Grenada. Yeah? There's no shame in saying that all your bad spending money before and all you're willing now to work towards ensuring that there's medication. All you go stop take all them unnecessary trip that all you're going to just say, well, I went to Germany and I went to Switzerland and I went over to Africa and when I was on the African continent. Yeah, so instead of that, let me save them funds and them dinner. All right? And spend it on the medication. All right? And the pay raise all you're about to take, unless all you ensure that medication is available for the people of Grenada on a proper basis. Yes, we understand that sometimes a shipment might not come in and what you have might finish, but we know that a shipment is on the way. We could understand situations like that. What we can't understand is situations where there is widespread no medication in our healthcare facilities and then a minister coming and lie in the House of Parliament. Remember, 10, 20, 200 years from now, This is in the records. This is written into the records of our parliament. When our great-grandchildren checking back, they're going to be seeing these things. Yeah? When they're researching what used to go on in the year 2023 in the Parliament of Grenada, when they're researching, they're going to be seeing these things, these lies that are being told by the government. All your fix, all your business. Yeah, I fully expect some of them would try to attack the messengers. Yeah, and I say messengers because not just me, but all of us who are brave enough to speak out on issues like this. We expect to be attacked. I ain't care about that. Fix the problem. Yeah, you can attack, you can say what you want. Fix the problem. I have children. God forbid I need to go there with one of them. God forbid I need to have to go there. God forbid you have to go there. Fix the problem. There is a problem, fix it. The hurricane season is coming up and the carnival season is coming up. We need to ensure that there is a smooth flow of medication and that people don't have these problems that they are suffering from now going into, one, the hurricane season which starts next week and the carnival season which is already upon us. And you know what has happened on the roads and all over during the carnival season. Please, Mr. Minister, I'm asking nicely, please ensure that you all stop lying and that you all start doing the work. Again, all right? In everything you all say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you and not about you. Just remember, for Grenada to progress, we must get rid of the Congress. That's all the time we have for tonight for Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'm out of here. We will be in tomorrow night. Remember, Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis will be on with us tomorrow night on Talking Points. Yes, Skeeter. Right, she'll be on with us tomorrow night. And remember as well, on Sunday, we're heading up to Hope Beach. I saw a flyer from St. Patrick, I think it's St. Patrick West. I'll get to that one tomorrow night. Only have a little while still, so we won't get to that particular one. All right? So, folks, yeah, we're heading out to this one tonight. Same way we come in, we're going out.
Like people business. All in the front, the right man, yes. Fire for fireman. Sing it. Good God. Good God. Good God. Just because I sing it, you carry so. All kind of wrong things about me people know. First they know some walking to one driving. Rumors all over about me they spreading. But I want them to know that I'm conscious is just a bread. And no way hypocrites like them could ever frustrate my head. So to all those who like to man, there is more to say about Teller. Cause it's me who killed Bishop and mash everything up. Type on the treasury and see for the money. So look we hear me. God, it's some sweet, tie me down. All day we go, we tie me down. Tell them. Good God. Cost of living here keep rising daily. Unemployment rampant in this country. Prostitution is a priority. Up to now that them boys can see. But of course they come out to destroy me with their cheap limits. Man, even my children's mother too, they make fault for it. Because she too, she lambates me, telling everyone I'm nasty. Cause me that is profit, and with them with the cow shit. Man, me that is prison, and Alex is them wicked man. So the two of me cry me down. Because I like it, cry me down. All day because they cry me down. Oh God, it sounds sweet, cry me down. Oh God, good God. Politician here keep writing and playing while tax we have money going down the drain. Agriculture gone so low, it's a shame. AIDS and drugs flowing down here like rain. But a humble guy like me who's fighting for a living. Then bypass it out and on my back they keep on stabbing. Cause they see me as Judas, what they should know for dinners. You see I don't know me, jumping from party to party. Give me all of them prefer, man to sell out grenada. So look at me, cry me down. Because I like it. Oh God, it sounds sweet. All day you cry me down. Tell them. Oh God, oh God. As some kids in India come walking wrong. Now they own Grenville and half a ton. We hospital condition out of bomb. To be in the hell gates you're going down. Yet we doctors and nurses have to work with such condition. We don't have equipment for a simple operation. You see what's on can't take over. So all you see them and can tell her I is good minister. That every day by Uber. But then still going on TV. They tell you they love the country. So look at me, cry me down. Because I like it. Oh God, it sounds sweet. All them hypocrite. Tell them. Oh Lord. Oh God. As he had food try singing that wicked Sammy Queen, Big Mouth Susan, Chukare Salian, Chumbelly Phyllis, Flat Bam Bam Rudy, Makuman Braga, as he drunk in Oaks, Mr. Le Bonard, Iron Food Diva, Married Man Bride Honey, Paul Hetzen Louis, Flatface Michael Noel, Communist General. Oh God, oh God.
Somebody in the back, can't see them. Else what is you, boy? I get last
Who tell them to invoke the dead? That wasn't behavioral dread. If they was experimenting, they had the whole parish panicking. Did you read this cemetery? 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 Girl, did you read this cemetery? Boy, did you read this cemetery? Look, did you read this cemetery? Stop, did you read this cemetery? Andre Donald, you're free the spirit, you're free the bad. You're free the spirit, you're free the bad. A woman shot out to she neighbor. Make sure you protect your daughter. The spirit jump inside the car and it's heading for the arena. Spirit, stop it. Spirit, I said stop. Spirit, somebody stop. Spirit, mom, spirit, that spirit, look spirit, granny spirit. Yeah, you're free the spirit. Tell me, you're free the bad. The whole Paris was in a form as the whole Paris was in a form as the whole Paris was in a form as so John welcome and he put it to rest. me set me free. Did the rain let me set me free. Did the rain let me set me free. Did the rain let me set me free. Girl, did the rain let me set me free. Boy, did the rain let me set me free. Look, did the rain let me set me free. I'm free, did the rain let me set me free. All those who like to mago, telling you anywhere people go. This time they cannot gossip. 5 o'clock and people run and sleep. Did the rain let me set me free. 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 Most of the rain let me set me free. Come Matthew, you're pretty spirit. New man, you're pretty bad. Pretty spirit, you're pretty bad. Telephone ringing like crazy.
Get down to roots, remember we tradition. For this Kambule, Chambalasi ruling this time. Yes, we everywhere, taking it from the grapevine. We breaking all rules with fun, picong and rhyme. If the campaign didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't have say, oh me mad bad motor paper pass in the yard. You say to make it better, you make to sting me finger. Now only 1 year later, this country have been heart failure. Hey, you vote, you don't vote, same damn thing. The heart or the hand, same damn thing. The change we ain't change, same damn thing. You win, you don't win, same damn thing. We love honesty, with it we must succeed. How can we grow without our basic needs? If you change your course, here could be paradise. Why strangle the hopes by trying to build on lies? If the taxman didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't have said, oh me mud bad, Mr. Finance don't pass in the yard. We working for little money. Hey, hey, you take it back as you give it. You entry a for CT, and now you kill me with the dead levy. Hey, we vex, we don't vex, same damn thing. We talk, we don't talk, same damn thing. We walk, we don't walk, same damn thing. We pay, we don't pay, same damn thing. People ask the same questions. They want some action, nothing positive going on. What can it be? Like the password is kill we.